Well, the race at the top end of the Premier League got a whole lot more interesting, didn't it? Tottenham in a race for the Champions League now. They can be considered as flying under the radar a little bit. 6 unbeaten in all competitions. The FA Cup is on the horizon. They did enough to get past Southampton. They're at Villa in the next game. What do you make of it? Jose Mourinho got a chance to take them back into the big time.
Yeah, Jose Mourinho has Spurs playing very Jose Mourinho football. As you mentioned, 6 unbeaten in all comps. Add to that a couple of scalps in Manchester City and Chelsea recently. But those results and the performances were exactly as we'd seen from Jose Mourinho at Manchester United. I'd say similarly at Chelsea. Nothing to write home about, but you get the result. And it's a huge departure from what we've come to expect and expect of Spurs over the last few years, and what many Spurs fans would have told you is what their club is all about.
They're playing handicapped, of course, without Harry Kane.
Yes.
When they go to Villa, the priority is going to be on the 3 points. But of course, they're still in the Champions League, and the game against Leipzig is still there. So he's now got to juggle multiple competitions because the offer of the trophy is up there for the FA Cup. Maybe not favourites for the Champions League, but you still want to get that revenue.
And juggle he will. That's the one thing you know with Jose Mourinho. He knows these competitions and he knows how to approach them as well as any manager in football. The thing is with this Spurs team, and you mentioned the huge injury to Harry Kane, it's still not his team. No real reinforcements coming in the January transfer window. Is the squad as big as he would like it or as he needs it to be in tussling for all 3 competitions? You understand why the league continues to be priority. Always is, but especially now with the added bonus that maybe, just maybe, 5th spot may be in play for the Champions League. How far this Spurs team can go in the Champions League this season, again, I'm not so sure, but then I wasn't absolutely certain or convinced that they could do anything in terms of getting to a final last season, and they did. So that's there, and it's all about the draw for them up against Leipzig, a team sitting top of the Bundesliga, but a team that, if you're Spurs, you know it could have been a whole lot worse. The draw could have been a whole lot more unkind to you. And then domestic competitions will remain a focus, especially with some of the other big boys and their focuses being elsewhere.
You would expect it, though, to really focus the minds of everyone at Tottenham that this carrot of the Champions League is on offer. Would it be deemed a success if everything else were to fall by the wayside? Let's say Leipzig eliminate them. Let's say they fall in the FA Cup and there's no trophy yet again, even though that was a remit of him coming in to replace Pochettino, really, to get their hands on a trophy. If all of that were to go away, but they were to somehow qualify for the Champions League again, would they deem this first half season of Mourinho a success?
I think so, yes. Because, as I mentioned, no real money spent. Though Pochettino could probably say the same for the last couple of seasons. But no money spent in making this team his own. A team that was floundering after, you could argue, the lack of investment. But somehow he's righted that ship. Okay, the football hasn't been great, as I mentioned, but they're getting results, and that's a good foundation to have. If you couple that with Champions League berth, whether you finish top 4 or, as you mentioned, the possibility of top 5, yes, I think you deem that a success. Given where he took over, what's happened since, no real signings, as I keep saying, and you deliver a major accomplishment in competing in the Champions League, which is not just about your league position, but it also helps in who you can recruit come this summer when he tries to make this team his own.
Yeah, so big implications on what they can do going forward. Let's finish on Villa. Jack Grealish was a player, of course, who's interested Tottenham in the past.
Yes.
His creativity is going to be key for Villa if they're going to get 3 points out of this one. But they will look at this game and say, this is a fixture, we need the 3 points given their position.
Yeah, listen, the closer we get to the end of the season, the more desperate it becomes for Villa. And the trouble is, you just don't see where it comes from. The only player of real quality, and I think he graces just about any team in the Premier League, is Jack Grealish. But he's there for the early season. He's going to see this out. You know where his focus is going to be. And if you're Villa, you are looking at teams like Spurs because of their inconsistency. In all honesty, outside of the Liverpools and the Cities, maybe you could even say Sheffield United, how consistent they are. There's a certain level of inconsistency to everybody else in the league that maybe, just maybe, on your day, you can get the most of. Listen, I've sat in dressing rooms where we've been in relegation fights, and you are looking for the slightest of cracks in the opponent in the hope of exploiting. Of course, not recognizing that you have more than your own fair share of cracks. But you're thinking about what they do or don't do so well and how you can get the better of them. Spurs aren't a great footballing team. No Harry Kane, as we keep talking about. Maybe, just maybe, that's all the incentive that Villa needs.
Prediction?
Spurs are going to win.
3 points for Mourinho then. The Champions League is just over the horizon. It's getting closer.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.